2017 Radio Sports Broadcaster of the Year on the show with back-to-back Montana Broadcaster Association awards for sports coverage and award-winning sports journalism. Here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
Hello, Montana. The Lakers roster is down to 3. UConn goes back to the Big East. College athletes monetizing their images. And how about Marty Morningwig? It is Tutel and Nuanez 102.9 ESPN Radio and across the state on SWX, Montana Television High. How are you? Great to be with you here on this Thursday afternoon. Hope you are having a fantastic day. Thanks for spending some of it with us on your radios, on your TVs, or perhaps on your internet. YouTube, Tutel Nuanez channel on YouTube. Go watch that if you would like to. We're happy to be there with you as well. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris is at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Celia, and online at kurtzpolaris.com. You can find us on the World Wide Web, 1029ESPN.com. You can listen to the stream there if you would like to. A little, maybe more mobile. Maybe you're out of market, however it is. 1029ESPN.com. Listen live. Stream brought to us by Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. You want to give us a ring, 329-1899, area code 406-329-1899. That's how we do it across the state of Montana. All guests join us via the Reggich Brothers RV phone line. Colter could not help himself, had to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers, so we're going to start with the Los Angeles Lakers. We're going to get into it. We also, in about a half an hour from now, looking forward to having Paul Standen and Libby Schneider from Dig Missoula. Dig Missoula has absolutely exploded in terms of what it has done in terms of growth. Now a nonprofit. It is they are hosting the largest volleyball tournament in the state of Montana coming up here in just a couple of weeks. So they're going to come in and talk to us about that, but also all the other things that they're up to, which is actually really remarkable. So we will. I think it's a really good story actually. So I look forward to talking with Paul and Libby about that. We will get into a little bit of UConn going back to the Big East. If we can squeeze that in, we will try to do it, mostly because of football implications. Go back to the Big East in basketball. What does that mean for the football team? No Bob Diaco anymore at UConn, so I don't know that they're, I don't know what the football program's going to do. Top of the hour. Looking forward to this. Our ESPN Roundtable guest this week, Marty Morningwig. As of right now, in fact, they are starting the coaches portion of Marty Morningwig's clinic tomorrow. The QB school, hence the hat. We got the Marty Morningwig QB school hat. They dropped by. Appreciate that. So we will listen to the roundtable with him. Really, really awesome guy to talk to. Fun roundtable to do, and appreciate his time. And I think you'll all like that. Obviously, if you don't know who Marty Morningwig is, well, let me just tell you. Former Montana quarterback in the early 80s and a long time, a lifer in the NFL in the coaching ranks. Head coach of the Detroit Lions for a couple of years. Was most recently the offensive coordinator in Baltimore. Was Brett Favre's quarterback coach. So this is a man who's been around a little bit. Been around in the NFL a little bit. He's got a Super Bowl ring. That's pretty good. So we will get into that with him. And also, how about monetizing your image as a college athlete? The state of California is on the verge of passing a bill that would allow just that. And so we will talk about the implications of it and what that might mean. All that in the show today. Colter, what's up, dude?
Hot.
Now, you went to a spin class yesterday morning, but then I also have received word, because I got people everywhere. I got people who know people who know people. There's a rap song about that. I got to bring that one back up. Who said you were on a proper jog last night?
Well, I was walking downtown, and then I saw these people jogging, so I decided I should try that too. Why not?
I mean, what's going on here?
Just trying to be fit.
I guess so.
At one point in my life, actually most of my life, I was fit.
I mean, a spin class and a jog in the same day.
Yep. And all of a sudden, I started hanging out with you and eating buckets of cheese fries.
Yeah. You showed up on this show a svelte 170. That's
I don't know about that. I have not weighed 170 pounds since 5th grade.
I'll call it 7th grade.
Been over 2 bills. a long time.
Well, you're always going to be over 2 bills. If you were under 2 bills, you'd be rushed to the hospital.
Imagine how big my head would look.
Yeah, it would be big. Tutel Nuanez YouTube channel, if you would like to see it. You can't even see me. It's just Tatanka's dome in here. What do you think about the unbuttoned look? Am I okay with this? Is this too informal?
Since when do you worry about your look?
Every day.
You're wearing first grader pants with elastic on the bottom of them.
You don't even know what you're doing. You want to know something? The first time that I ever interviewed Colt Anderson,
yeah,
he was wearing almost these identical pants, and I know this. I remember this.
They were probably made by a brand name athletic company, not Oshkosh.
Who cares?
Well, people that care.
But that's insane. That's a dumb comment by you. The only thing that matters is what they look like. And I was like, I wonder if I should get these pants. They're very comfortable to wear. By the way, you can't even see them on a TV anyways. They're down under the desk. And I said to him, Cole, I was wondering if I should get these pants, but you're wearing the pants, so I guess I've made a good choice. And he's just like, hey, man, you live your life, okay? You leave me out of this. And I think that was probably the right response by him.
Speaking of Colt Anderson, I told him I'd give him a little plug since he is a good friend of the show, and he's hosting his annual Dream Big Days in Butte
in Butte
this weekend.
Yep.
So if you need something to do with the kiddos or whatever, drive on over there. There's going to be all sorts of great guests. Erica McLeod, Butte native and former heptathlete, pentathlete at the University of Montana, multiple-time Big Sky champion will be there. His array of old Eagles buddies and former Grizz guys that have been in the NFL. So I know that's always a good day with a bunch of celebrities over there in Butte, and goes towards a good cause, his Dream Big Foundation. So if you need something to do on Friday or Saturday, it's 2-day deal. Go check it out.
We kind of sometimes with these athletes, they put their foundations together or their nonprofits and so forth. And I don't know, you almost take it for granted that like, oh, well, yeah, you're a professional athlete, like, it's almost like a requisite that you're going to have some sort of nonprofit that's going to be out there benefiting, something like that. But, and, I'm sure there's athletes that, have that it's, a publicity, their publicist takes care of organizing the whole thing, and they put somebody on a payroll somewhere and they show up, for 6 hours, once a year to attach their name to the thing or whatever, but they're not, they don't really care. And by the way, you know what? Even if that's the case, if something good's getting done, then so be it.
Totally.
But also, I think it's remarkable how many of these guys really decide that with a significant portion of their time, their efforts, the notoriety that they have that they could use in a variety of ways, that they choose to, do things that are actively impactful in a positive way, often back in their their hometowns or home communities. I think it's great. And so shout out to Colt and all of the guys. There's a bunch of guys that are joining in that are Montana guys, obviously some compatriots from the league and so forth as well that'll come back. But I think it's a great thing there in Butte. We'll get the specifics too.
Full schedule here is there's a gala on Friday night, and then on Saturday it's 10 a.m. till noon is a skills camp. You can drop in and sign up right there and then it's Family Fun Day, which is free at the Butte Civic Center, so noon to 3. So that'll be cool. And then Uptown Butte, 6 to 11 p.m. They're going to have live music show as well. And some of the celebrities include Maggie Voisin, who we've had on this show, great Olympian skier,
an Olympian medalist in the moguls.
An array of former NFL guys: Jason Babin, Chase Reynolds, Ryan Jensen, Sterling Moore, Connor McDermott, all the way down the line. Keith Sayers, who's a professional motocross rider as well. I mentioned Erica McLeod. Jordy Tripp is going to be there. And then there's going to be a couple other celebrity guests as well that remain to be seen.
And then guess what? For the Marty Morningwig School, which is going on today and tomorrow, the coaches today, the quarterback school tomorrow, the hat that I got on, up top. So it all comes full circle.
They're
doing everything. All right, Coulter, you wanted to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers today, and we got limited time because actually our roundtable is a little longer than normal, and you'll understand why about 10 seconds into it.
Marty
goes long. Marty doing his deal. So, but the Lakers had 5 guys on because they did get somebody in some tri-named 18-year-old Iowa.
Looks Caruso, who I've never heard of.
There's no chance I could say his name 5 times on the radio and not get fined by the FCC. Like, that's an easy one to get it wrong in a bad way. Yeah. Anyway, okay. The point is they got rid of Mo Wagner and a couple other guys, basically that would put them up and over the limit of cap space remaining to obtain another max guy. So they are back into the max market game. They would then have, obviously, 3 max players and you and me filling out the roster. So I understand if you go as high end as you can possibly go. If you're going to go, first of all, not everybody can. There's a lot of teams that would love to be able to do what the Los Angeles Lakers are doing right now, and there's just no chance because you're, the Memphis Grizzlies, or you are the Utah Jazz, or whatever. But if you're the Lakers, and you sit here and you go, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go get the absolute best players I can with all the money I have, and then with the pesos that are left over, I will get the rest of it. That's what they're going to do, and they're going to go all in, and their starting 5 is going to be spectacular, presumably. I mean, already it is, and if you add another max guy, look out. But also, I understand about, shortening up the rotations, especially in the postseason and everything like that. At some point, you do have to have some guys that can come in off the bench to give you minutes. You do have to start a 5th guy, by the way. I don't know if you're keeping track at home. There are 5 guys on the floor at a given time, so you've already got one person at least who isn't going to be one of those 4 dudes, Kuzma, AD, LeBron, whoever the max guy, presumably, if that's what they do, and then a 5th. LeBron has played more minutes than it's even possible to comprehend over the past however many seasons. He's also takes care of himself in a way that almost is all equally impossible to comprehend.
This next year is going to be his 17th year. How crazy is that?
It's crazy. And people say, well, he's coming off an injury, how durable he's going to. I don't buy into that. I don't buy into it. But I do buy into, through the course of a year, everybody needs some rest, and I do think LeBron at this point in his career, I don't know that you want to run him out there 38, 40 minutes a game as an average. 32 to 35, and, some nights off, I think that's what you really need to do with him. You can run Kyle Kuzma and Anthony Davis just had a whole year off, so he should be good to go. Kyle Kuzma's a young guy, same thing. But I guess just my point is like, okay, you get up 17, but then as soon as you got to give guys a rest, it's just a 10-point run 8 times out of 10 for the other team. Is that ideal? So I don't know. This is interesting to me. I thought they would spread the money out and try and get some, not blue chip guys, but the next level guys, some between top 20 and top 35 types of players. This looks like they're going for another top 15 guy, if they can, another potential all-NBA type of player, and then who cares after that?
The other thing worth noting, Anthony Davis waived his $4 million trade bonus, which on one hand is just astounding that someone would just say, no, thank you, I don't want your free $4 million. But I think it's a testament to him in terms of just wanting to get better talent on the roster, because that's how they got from the $23 million that they were kind of hovering around to then they made this trade, and now they have $32 million in cap space, which means that they can sign an absolute max guy or they could sign an almost max guy. The 2 things that we do know for sure is that they have secured meetings with both Kawhi Leonard and D'Angelo Russell. If it is Kawhi Leonard, then they might be playing 4-on-5. Because if you sign Kawhi Leonard for $30 million plus a year, you're not going to have any money to sign other people. If you sign D'Angelo Russell, his maximum salary would be $27.25 million, meaning that you would have $4.76 to $5.5 million to sign other guys. That seems like still not enough.
We don't think, though, right, that Kawhi is really going to the Lakers.
I mean, Kawhi Leonard has agreed to meetings with 3 teams: the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Raptors.
Mm-hmm.
People from his camp have told Zach Lowe, who I think has the best insight on the camps of players. His camp has stated to Zach Lowe that he does not want to play for the Lakers. But I don't know. I think that was information that was out there before Anthony Davis played for the Lakers. Which seems like a 50-50 whether that makes LA more appealing to a guy like Kawhi. Makes it more appealing to just about everybody. Kawhi Leonard go, oh, well, what, more stars? Nah. And Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting that the Lakers are trying to get meetings and have serious interest in Danny Green, Terrence Ross, Seth Curry, and J.J. Redick. I think Seth Curry or J.J. Redick. Or Danny Green. Yeah, Danny Green, I would prefer the latter to Danny just because they're younger. They're younger. I think they're better shooters. Yeah, but not in the NBA Finals. Danny Green is, in fact, the greatest shooter in the history of the NBA Finals. Okay, if you want to have him for potentially 7 games at the end, if you get there, then that's fine. What do we know about LeBron James? He's never gotten along with a young player. He has in fact JJ he has in fact is not a young player. No, I know. I'm talking about D'Angelo Russell. Oh, and I'm talking about I don't think he would have any problem with Seth Curry because he's Anthony Davis is a pretty young player. Indeed, and that'll be interesting to see how it works. But LeBron James has straight up prioritized old guys as opposed to young guys because he wants to be able to trust you. It's not even old guys. It's guys he knows. Guys he knows. And the reason he knows is probably because you are old. Well, the other guy that I can almost guarantee is going to resurface in LA is J.R. Smith. Okay. But if they say the Lakers swing and miss on Kawhi Leonard, say he doesn't want to go there, and say they swing and miss on D'Angelo Russell, which is a very real thing because I think D'Angelo Russell might be the biggest wild card of any of these borderline superstar guys because no one really knows what D'Angelo Russell wants to do. And I think D'Angelo Russell, I mean, there's some certain bad blood. I mean, they traded D'Angelo Russell because he snitched on Nick Young. He told Nick Young his girlfriend was cheating on him. And then he gets traded, and then the Lakers try to spin it as if he's a bust, and then he goes out and is an all-star. So that's a little too short of a story that you've told on the entire thing. Regardless, the way that the Lakers treated it is they tried to treat it as if he was a bust, and that was just not the case. He was 20, and now he's a 22-year-old all-star. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that either of those guys are going to go to L.A., and so then if that's the case, maybe then they spread this all around and do what you're saying. But then I think that they could fall into... Also, isn't Kyrie Irving supposedly in the mix? Kyrie Irving's in the mix for sure, but that's why D'Angelo Russell is such a pinnacle piece because D'Angelo Russell could take... First of all, he's a restricted free agent, so the Nets can match. But second of all, if he leaves Brooklyn, that is a destination place for both Kemba Walker or Kyrie Irving. There's just a lot of dominoes left to fall. But I do think the Lakers could end up with a pretty funny team, aside from Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Kyle Kuzma. Because if they didn't get those guys, then they're going to go all in on – they'll probably get all 4 of the guys I just named, Danny Green, Seth Curry, Terrence Ross, and J.J. Redick. Mm-hmm. But then I also bet you that they go try poaching mid-level exemption veterans. Guys like Carmelo Anthony, maybe Boogie Cousins. We'll see. But guys that are in that same sort of vein. So I just think it could end up being another pretty interesting roster. But I think that they're better off just rolling with a tiered roster than they are with – I don't know. Kawhi Leonard is the one that's obviously money. I mean, if you get Kawhi Leonard to go with those 2 guys, I mean, you are the overwhelming favorite to win the NBA championship. And I think that that's what you kind of have to do because I think LeBron James has more left in the tank than most people do. But, I mean, what do I always say? Nothing lasts forever, and LeBron James is not going to last forever. I think that the window for the Lakers is... Is that your saying? Did you come up with that? I mean, I'm so creative. It's what it was. Would you tell me this? Yes. Is LeBron James' window to win another NBA championship over or under 2 years? Over. I think it's over. But him winning another championship and him being the centerpiece or one of 2 centerpieces, the catalyst on a championship team, the guy who is carrying the team, you get more than 2 years, and I think it becomes pretty questionable to me. I think he's going to play in the league another 5 years.
say it's 4 years, okay? There's no question that any team that he's on is going to have the possibility of winning a championship.
He has played a version of the point forward for most of his career.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a power point forward, right? Like LeBron is the one coming downhill at you. He's creating a ton, and he's a very willing passer. But at the end of the day, he's trying to get to the rim. And he's as good at getting to the rim as anybody in the history of the league. But I think that if LeBron was to truly remake himself as a true point guard, a Magic Johnson-style facilitating type of guy, now he has the running mate that could just absolutely thrive with that.
And I expect his career, too, because he doesn't have to get to the rim as a significant part of what makes him great. He can still obviously probably sprinkle it in whenever he wants, whenever he has the energy to do it. But if that's not what he's up to, saves you a lot of gas, so to speak.
To answer me this, I think that LeBron will still be the focal point, the linchpin, what the offense is based around. But I think Anthony Davis will be the Lakers' leading scorer next year.
I mean, that does not seem to me. I'm not saying that it will or won't happen, but I mean, if I had to pick one, I also would pick Anthony Davis. I don't think that's crazy.
Just because Anthony Davis,
the least bit.
LeBron James is going to be diamond up Anthony Davis, and it's not really as much vice versa.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, Anthony Davis, I don't know what he was averaging scoring.
He was third in the league in scoring last year.
But I mean,
actually, he was second in the league in scoring last year. He's a 29-point per game guy.
Why is LeBron great? Not because he's a scorer. It's because he's a scorer and a passer, and if he wants to be a defender, and
right.
Because
he's averaging 28 points per game, shooting like 56%.
Exactly. And so the point is like, he doesn't have to be Allen Iverson, to impact the game. And he is the one who understands that better than all of us. It's what he's done his whole career.
I can't wait to see these two play off of each other, just in the not on the court, but just the day-to-day.
Mm-hmm.
Because LeBron James has played with great players before. He has. He's played with, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving. But all those guys, incredibly gifted, no doubt. But there's very few people that have the rare gifts that LeBron James has. And one of the only guys
is the
it is zero. But you know what I'm saying. There's only a few guys that are just like once in a generation, just bodies. Like you were saying with Kevin Durant. I mean, Kevin Durant was made to play basketball. He is the prototype basketball player. If you made a guy on a video game, I would be like, well, that was dumb. You're cheating.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he is. But like Anthony Davis has still been sort of hidden playing in New Orleans. People don't realize this. Anthony Davis weighs 260 pounds. He looks so lean and skinny, but it's because he's so long. He is a real 7 feet 260 who can run up and down the court. He is the best rim protector in the league. He's one of the 3 best rebounders in the league. Now he can shoot from all areas of the floor. He's so smooth. I mean, his career has been so interesting because it's been almost disappointing considering the amount of hype he had. Like when he came out of high school and when he came out of college, after that run to the national championship with Kentucky, sky was the limit. And he hasn't underproduced by any means individually, but he has as a team. I'm just so interested to see how he improves, how those two drive each other along. I mean, how cool for LeBron in the later stages of his career to finally have somebody that has, not only the competitive drive, because Dwayne Wade was no doubt so good for LeBron and vice versa because of their competitive nature, but also someone that has the gifts that Anthony Davis has. If he could bestow upon him, like you were saying, the way he takes care of his body, the way, what it takes to be the best in the world, I just think it could send Anthony Davis to the stratosphere.
Well, it's rare. This almost never happens, in fact, that there's a trade that I love as a fan in both directions.
Right.
And either I hate it all the way around or I like it one way and not the other. This makes, to me, the Lakers so much more interesting than they were. I thought they were I thought they were going to be really fun with LeBron James. I thought they ended up being completely boring, obviously the injury and all that kind of stuff. to introduce Anthony Davis into that market and whoever else they get, I think revitalizes the national interest in the Lakers. And I couldn't find a team that I found to be more compelling and curious than the New Orleans Pelicans right now. So I'm excited about it in both directions. It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. We may come back to this. I want to talk about waiving the $4 million because call me a skeptic, call me a cynic. I just don't believe it. I mean, he did do it. That's not in question. But who we kidding? Who we kidding? Somebody's getting $4 million to Anthony Davis.
Rich Paul, baby. We didn't even talk about that. Later on the show, we'll talk about Rich Paul.
Paul Standen, Libby Schneider, Dig Missoula. The biggest volleyball tournament in Montana is July 13th. They're in to tell us about it and much more great stories next.
Carl Tyler's Missoula Volkswagen wants to help you celebrate Independence Day with a new SUV. The Volkswagen 2019 Atlas has all your road trip needs covered and includes a 6-year, 72,000-mile, whichever occurs first, transferable bumper-to-bumper limited warranty, along with Carl Tyler's forever powertrain warranty. You can focus on your vacation with worry-free ownership. Carl Tyler's Missoula Volkswagen.
Remainder of warranty coverage transfers to subsequent vehicle owner. See dealer for warranty booklet, exclusions and limitations.
Hey, Tutel Nuanez here. Can't tell you how many times we've heard the face for radio joke since we came on SWX television, but it's been a fun endeavor so far.
And now our esteemed producer Tommy is pushing the envelope even further. We got our own YouTube channel.
That's right. If you want to watch us every day from your computer, your tablet, your cell phone, you can check out Tutel Nuanez on YouTube.
Tutel Nuanez, live every weekday from 4 to 6 in the afternoons on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula, SWX Montana statewide, and now around the planet Earth on YouTube.
Carl Tyler's Missoula Volkswagen wants to help you celebrate Independence Day with a new SUV. The Volkswagen 2019 Atlas has all your road trip needs covered and includes a 6-year, 72,000-mile, whichever occurs first, transferable bumper-to-bumper limited warranty, along with Carl Tyler's forever powertrain warranty. You can focus on your vacation with worry-free ownership. Carl Tyler's Missoula Volkswagen.
Remainder of warranty coverage transfers to subsequent vehicle owner. See dealer for warranty booklet, exclusions and limitations.
Good news! Missoulians can finally move into what we love best, being outside. Garden City Paint and Glass can help you get a head start on all those outside home improvement projects. Now is also a great time to start getting a jump on cracked windows and broken screens. Enjoy up to 25% off select products. And be sure to watch for PPG rebates to help the job along. Look good, stay comfortable, and keep energy costs down at Garden City Paint and Glass. 3217 Brooks or 549-0608.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River. Hello, Missoula. Ryan Tutel here from Tutel and Nuanez. At the beginning of 2019, Coulter came up with a new idea that has already grown into one of our most broad, in-depth, and successful segments. The ESPN Roundtable has been a highlight of the year for us so far.
From the standout seniors from the University of Montana men's Big Sky Conference Championship basketball team to NFL players with Montana ties to Grizz head coach Bobby Hauck to Montana State Athletic Director Leon Costello, we've covered a wide swath with these weekly long-form interviews.
Heck, we even had a real Irishman in the studio. Standout Grizz men's tennis player Oisin Shaffery was certainly one of our most entertaining subjects.
As we enter the summer months, we're going to keep the ESPN Roundtable rolling with a collection of premier guests.
So check out the ESPN Roundtable. The 30-minute segment airs at noon each Wednesday on Tutel and Nuanez at 5 p.m. on 102.9 ESPN Missoula and SWX Television every Thursday, and forevermore as part of the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series at SkylineSportsMT.com.
The ESPN Roundtable, presented by Paradise Falls, Missoula's coolest hotspot.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Sports Center. The Montana High School Association voted Wednesday to allow spectators at state golf meets to watch from the course. Throughout the history of state golf in Montana, no spectators have been allowed to observe on the course. The newest change allows spectators during both regular and postseason events to watch, provided they adhere to the conduct guidelines and obtain a spectator badge to be worn at all times on the course.
Other rule changes for the MHSA include allowing Class AA volleyball to hold divisional tournaments starting during the 2020 season. The MHSA also moving the 2020 Class AA and C state track meet from Missoula to Helena following facility concerns, and a move to allow Class C basketball to have a 4-day state tournament pending an available venue.
Montana State senior guard Harold Frey will participate in his home country of Norway in the International University Sports Foundation Summer Universiade. The event serves as a large multi-sport competition outside of the Olympics, the largest, in fact, and it's the largest entirely for student athletes. The games begin July 3rd in Naples, Italy. And
finally, Missoula Osprey fell 7-3 to the Billings Mustangs on Wednesday in the final game of their first homestand of the season. The O's mustered only 4 hits and struck out 8 times, while the visitors banged out 14 hits, including 3 hits and 2 RBI from leadoff hitter Cash Case. The Osprey are 5-7. They play tonight in Billings, 6:35 p.m.
If you like volleyball, it's good. If you like beach volleyball, it's really the state for you. But there's some people out there trying to make it that way, and they're here with us now. It is Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. Find us on Twitter at Gus Tutel, at 102.9 ESPN, and at Skyline Sports MT as well. Very happy now to welcome back to the show Paul Standen, and along with him, Libby Schneider. They're from Dig Missoula. Libby is the community member in charge of high school and community outreach with Dig Missoula. And then, Paul, you've ramrodded this thing from the beginning when it was some nets in a garage.
That's
somewhere,
about what it was.
Right?
Yes.
And so let's talk people through Dig Missoula. And I said beach volleyball. It's the tournament that's coming up, which we'll get into, is primarily grass.
It's
right?
a grass tournament, yes.
But you're also upgrading a bunch of sand courts around the city and Western Montana. But just take us back to the beginning of Dig Missoula, and why did you go, this, we got to do it?
This we got to do. It all started out way ahead of when Fort Missoula Regional Park was built,
right,
a couple of years out. And another person that's in our volleyball group, he and I thought, wow, there's an opportunity here to hold a regional tournament in Missoula. It's a good spot, and lo and behold, we did all that, and here we are, about to start our 3rd tournament.
And it's interesting, though, because it's grown so much, because the tournament itself, and we'll talk more about it, was sort of the centerpiece that this all became. But it has expanded hugely even outside. It's not just about, hey, once a year we get together, we invite a bunch of teams. It's now, a nonprofit organization, right. Dig Missoula. You created a scholarship that you've been giving away.
Yes.
So talk to us about this.
So one of our goals, we had a couple of goals at the outset, and that was, one, to create a scholarship program and keep kids in the sport of volleyball. And we wanted to create a state-of-the-art sand volleyball court facility here in Missoula. So fast forward, we have partnered with Missoula Parks and Rec, and we've identified the sand courts at Playfair Park, and looks like we're going to be doing something along those lines. That's what the nonprofit is raising funds for over the years now.
Libby, tell us a little bit about your role in all of this.
I am a huge fan of growing the game of volleyball, especially here in Montana. I was a college volleyball player about 20 years ago, and coming from Montana, you're a little bit of a step behind the rest of the country, because the rest of the country has really strong club programs, and they honestly have a better climate for things like outdoor volleyball. But luckily here in Missoula, which is unique to Montana, there is a really tight-knit volleyball community that really wants to make volleyball in Missoula happen from age 12 to age 100. And we've got a great group at Bonner Park that has primarily been adults for the last, 10 years.
Yeah, at least.
and in the last couple of years has really opened up to allowing high school kids to come in and play too, because their skill level has improved so much over the last decade that they can actually step on the court with these adults and not only keep up but hold their own and really drive it. And there's been such a separation between youth volleyball and adult volleyball, and we're really trying to mesh that. And we have a community that embraces that youth volleyball and growing the game. And Paul's idea was always to give back to those youth and find a way to get those girls who can't afford club or maybe don't have access to it, get them access to it. And then also through this tournament, get them outside playing, because there's a lot of girls who don't understand that there is an outdoor volleyball game as well, especially in the sand, because we don't have sand here, we have dirt. And that's very different than sand volleyball. And so and so they don't understand that there is an outdoor game and they can cross over, and there's a lot of opportunities, not just to play competitively in college or professionally, but for a life skill and a life game that is so rewarding. And so it has really been I've really taken on that part of Dig Missoula and tried to lead the charge. I'm the JV coach over at Hellgate, so I have a lot of access to kids, and I really know the youth volleyball community and the coaches here in town, and so it's been really easy to work with them to get Dig Missoula into their programs.
It seems like this has been a symbiotic relationship. It seems like Dig Missoula has had an impact on the high schools and vice versa. The high schools have seemed like they have an impact. So talk about that, just the way that you guys have been able to work hand in hand, because sometimes high schools, they don't necessarily want to have outside parties, but it seems like this is going pretty good for you guys.
Well, we keep talking about community here in Missoula, and part of that community, I mean, in various adult leagues, there's Libby playing across the court from me, and we strike up a friendship, and it turns out Libby's an assistant coach, and we just start creating these relationships throughout time, and it's just it just becomes all it just became all of that, where we are today.
Paul Standen in with us from Dig Missoula, and Dig Missoula having their big tournament coming up in just about 2 weeks, July 13th, out at the Fort Missoula Fields. Now, I have played volleyball. I've enjoyed it, except for intense wrist pain on some of those. But evidently I'm doing something wrong. But if I understand it correctly, a volleyball court is a little smaller than a soccer field. And so how many courts can you get up out there? I mean, you have virtually, it seems like, unlimited space for volleyball out there.
Well, I think we're at 15 courts this year that we're probably setting up. We've got the ability to set up more. Enrollment is ahead of last year before. We were pushing about 200 athletes joining us. This year we're looking to go over that number already. We can fit a lot of people out there. We're on the field at Fort Missoula Regional Park that day.
If people, for people who might want to play, get the team together, do you need to have a full team? How many is it? Is it a 4-person deal? Is it 3?
Yes, they're 4-person teams, and we've got it's basically men's open division is the top division, competitive division is in the middle, and then we have a new division, co-ed rec. That's your office wanting to get together.
You could call that the Tutel Nuanez division.
Well, we invited you last year, and we didn't see you. And then we also have a juniors division.
Oh,
again,
great.
Back to what Libby and I were talking about, getting the juniors involved, and we've got a solid juniors division forming.
So where can people find out more information, register if they want to, all that kind of stuff?
We've got a Dig Missoula Facebook page. We've got a Dig Missoula website. Just click on all of that. Registration is actually closing this Sunday, though we've got 2 weeks to get our act together and figure out divisions and all of that. If you've got a last-minute late reservation, to sign up, contact us. There's phone numbers. There's all sorts of ways to get in touch with us.
But don't put them through it, people. That's why they're here today.
We're organized.
48, 72 hours. Go on there. Get yourself in there. It's a great day. The biggest, the largest volleyball tournament in the state of Montana.
Libby, tell us about this new court you guys are trying to build.
So,
I guess a new facility more than anything, right?
So I had the privilege of playing on these beautiful courts in Spokane in the South Hill, and they have put up 16 sand volleyball courts with a synthetic sand. It's a silica base. And it is this beautiful, fine, clean, soft, light sand, and it is perfect for the inland Northwest. And this is our pipe dream, that we can fill 4 courts at Playfair Park with that sand. Now, the burden of the cost is going to be on us, and we're talking tens of thousands of dollars to do it. And so our goal right now is we want to make those courts playable. For the last few years, they've been at places 2 to 3 inches deep, and then after that 2 to 3 inches, you're looking at pretty much concrete. It's just
AKA
really
don't
packed out.
dive.
Exactly. You're getting road rash. Well, we've worked with Parks and Rec this year, and they've gone and they've tilled it up, and they've pushed sand back to the middle, and we are adding, I want to say 300 cubic yards of sand to those courts. And we're also going to create a berm in the middle eventually so we can get them deeper. Once we get them deep enough, we want to start some sand leagues. We want to start some doubles, some fours, really get the excitement going for sand volleyball in Missoula. Bozeman has a big crowd that does sand volleyball. Spokane has a big crowd, and they're actually starting in the Spokane, Seattle, Ellensburg areas to do some quasi-semi-pro AVP tournaments. And we would love to get on that rotation, but we can't with the facilities we have. So Dig Missoula is making the commitment to come up with the funds to make those 4 courts worth playing on and really like state of the art for Montana.
Yep.
We talked briefly about the scholarship side of this, but I mean, you actually have a person, Kylie Lunday, who has received a scholarship from Dig Missoula. So tell us about that.
Well, we can both tell you about that. Libby coached her, but Kylie was a young gal that would come out to our open court out at Bonner Park on a regular basis. This high school kid showing up and killing it, and just great attitude. And I noticed this person. It was just wonderful having her come on a regular basis. Her and a couple of friends. And then Libby and I started talking about it, and she had this person that she thought, oh, there's this great person that I think could be our first recipient of a scholarship. And as it turns out, it's Kylie, who Libby I also identified, and it was great.
And I guess the thing that's remarkable to me about this is, I mean, you're talking about some folks out playing volleyball recreationally at Bonner Park or wherever it is, and now all of a sudden you're a nonprofit that's actually scholarshiping kids to go to college and also improving greatly, the state of the courts and so forth that you want to have. And I mean, that's impressive. That doesn't really happen. There's plenty of people playing whatever it is, Ultimate Frisbee, et cetera, out there. But this kind of stuff, this community-wide stuff doesn't seem like it happens. And so that's the thing, I guess, that's most impressive to me. When it comes to actually drawing the dollars together to do that, you have a nonprofit. How do people get involved? Is it you got the tournament obviously coming up, but what else can people maybe do if they'd like to?
Well, we've got, we're always accessible. We have we've got a volunteer page on our website to volunteer for the tournament. We've had people coming up to us while we're playing out at Bonner Park. Hey, I'd like to volunteer. I'd like to get involved. People approach us as well. We'd like to help you with this project, and it's just great. We're always looking for people and open to all things that way.
And Libby, as a community/student outreach individual, what do you have things that you could use help with people to come in there and be, additional folks like yourself doing what you're up to?
We all started playing this sport for very selfish reasons. It's because we love volleyball. And I started this community outreach and working with the high school programs for another selfish reason. It's because I have a 9-year-old daughter who's going to be 6'3", and my dream for her is that she can go play the sport I love.
Never have.
I know, right? and I want her to have access to go play beach volleyball if she wants to. Yeah. And so for me to get the excitement in the young people's minds about this sport means that that's going to pay off for her in the end. But the side effect that I guess I knew was coming, but I didn't necessarily expect, was how amazing this makes me feel. And so what I ask people to do is get your daughters playing, get your sons playing. My son is going to play on our club team next year with my daughter. Get them out there playing this sport. And that is enough for us. If we can get those juniors on the court playing, not afraid to say to the person next to them, well, I don't know him real well, but will you play in this fourth tournament with me? That's the most rewarding thing for us.
Paul Standen, Libby Schneider, Dig Missoula tournament is July 13th, Saturday, 2 weeks away, basically. a little more than that, out at Fort Missoula. You can go sign up now. Check out the Facebook page. Go out there, have a great day, play, watch, whatever you want to do, and know about it because it's a great thing that's going on. You two, thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
UConn basketball joining the Big East. Coulter thinks it has an impact at Big Sky football. He'll complete the web for us right after this.
Everybody knows that high school sports generate suspense, excitement, and drama.
They also generate higher grade point averages, stronger work habits, and greater self-esteem.
Everybody knows that high school sports give us more value for our entertainment dollar.
They also give us leaders committed to strengthening communities right here in Montana. The true value of playing sports in school can't be measured in wins and losses or dollars and cents. Studies show that participation in sports, along with other extracurricular activities, is one of the best ways to teach leadership, cooperation, accountability, and other invaluable life skills. Don't just stand on the sidelines. Encourage the young people you know to get in the game. When you do, you'll be helping them get ahead in life. High school sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Montana High School Association and the Montana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
At the Montana Club, our goal is to create a menu of mouth-watering food with variety to satisfy any craving. From the garden fresh ingredients in our salads to our succulent, perfectly grilled Montana Club Angus steaks, we take pride in every detail that goes into preparing your food. Top off your meal with a premium cocktail, wine, or microbrew. Come as you are and satisfy your craving with our home-style breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, who pump it up, pump it up.
Last-minute barbecue invitation? Stop at Town Pump on the way. Pick up White Claw, Truly, and Smirnoff Seltzers 12-pack cans for only $14.99. Save the other arm to pick up Gardettos and Chex Mix. Buy one, get one free. Be the barbecue hero with a little help from Town Pump.
Town Pump, right down the road. Pump it up, oh yeah.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, but we also know that you're going to pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it. Well, not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with a staff of specialists that can answer any question. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and, are you ready, lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com.
Welcome to today's lottery drawing. And today's winning numbers are not yours, not yours, and another number that's not yours. And the final number is not yours.
When it comes to having money, don't rely on luck. Brew your own coffee at home instead of buying that latte. Brown bag it to work instead of ordering in. Go to feedthepig.org for more free ideas on how to save. Feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
If it matters to Missoula, it matters to us. Ryan Tutel and Coulter Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Now they always say congratulations. Work so hard, forgot how to vacation. They ain't never had the dedication.
Tutel and Nuanez. All guests join the show on the Rangage Brothers RV phone line. Broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studio on ESPN Radio in Western Montana and across the state on SWX television. Here is Ryan Tutel and Coulter Nuanez.
UConn hoops back in the Big East. That's cool. UConn football? UConn football was independent, right? Weren't they one of 6 football teams in the nation that was unaffiliated last year? They were. And so I actually watched UConn play football live. You know that?
When?
Waldo Stadium, Kalamazoo, Michigan. It was, let me tell you something, people, okay? If you're in Missoula, if you're in Bozeman, wherever you are, okay, you got a good thing going.
If you're in Montana, you got a good thing going.
Oh, it's a fact. Waldo Stadium holds like 45,000 people. I mean, you take it for granted, but I mean, the stadium is sitting there in the third level, college program or whatever it is in the state of Michigan, holds almost double the number that Washington Grizzly holds. It is about a third full. There's nowhere near as many people at the games as there are as in Missoula or Bozeman. And, I mean, it's the perfect place to study. If you're a college kid, you go in there, it's nice and quiet, read your book, lock in. I mean, it's just you can't even imagine how what a lack of energy and enthusiasm there is around a good portion of the country for some football.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it matters. I mean, of course, it matters that you're the top level. Anyway, I'm getting off on this. All I'm saying is, okay, UConn football probably out there. Tell me, Colter, what's going on? How does this potentially impact the Big Sky?
Well, because they're probably going to stay independent, and now that they're back in the Big East. First of all, I got to say I love UConn being back in the Big East for basketball because UConn is the Big East in basketball. I mean, that's where they should be.
Mm-hmm.
The erosion of the former Big East is sad to me, and the fact that it was because of football, even though it's a basketball conference with a bunch of basketball schools, and I just thought it was dumb. I don't want Syracuse in the ACC. I want them in the Big East. They're a Big East team.
Yeah.
The Big East tournament was one of the great sporting events. I mean, I would say that I enjoy the Big East tournament as much as I enjoy the NCAA tournament. The fact that it's at one thing, you have traditional rivalries, you had all these memorable great runs. I mean, what other conference tournament has the history and lineage of the Big East tournament? None, because it's all at MSG, and you have all these traditional long-time rivals that a lot of them are from in-state or just right up the road. I digress. But I do think that this is sort of the opposite of the Big East disbanding and reallocating because of football. Now, there could be some dominoes that fall downhill, and I don't want to get too much into the minutia, but the WAC is weighing adding football at the FCS level. The WAC had football forever. The WAC basically had to disband because of the creation of the Mountain West and the rise of the Mountain West. And there was a time where, Montana State were in the mix to maybe join the WAC, and that maybe could have saved the football future of the WAC. But I think that would have actually been very detrimental to both the Montana schools, especially considering what has happened with the WAC, with Nevada leaving and BYU leaving and Boise State leaving and Wyoming leaving, and everybody's gone. So then there's like, okay, what are you going to do? You're just remaking the Big Sky now, but you're just going to play in the FBS and just not win. I don't know. That seems dumb. So I'm glad that didn't happen. But if the WAC re-adds football, if UConn, they will go independent. But now there's going to be a spot in the AAC from last year. The AAC is going to fill that spot. So they could fill it with a variety of either Conference USA or Sun Belt teams. If that happens, then the Sun Belt is going to likely steal one of the schools from the WAC that is trying to add football, like a Texas Rio Grande, for example, or there's several schools that, because the Sun Belt has no semblance of geography. They don't care. They had Idaho in the league with Troy and South Alabama. So, but if that's the case, I just think there could be dominoes that fall, and then all of a sudden you're talking about maybe Big Sky teams or lack thereof. You never know what's going to happen. I think that Tom Wistrcill has expressed to us, the new commissioner of the Big Sky Conference, has expressed to us, not in specific detail, but broadly, that he thinks that the league is not necessarily perfect, that it's likely too big, and that something's going to change. And you just wonder what that change could be. If the WAC made significant offers to some of the West Coast schools, like a Portland State or a Sacramento State, who knows? Yeah, I think NAU would be another one that would fit the WAC, but I don't think they're going to leave the Big Sky because they've been in the Big Sky for so long. Dixie State is going to join the WAC, and that's going to be one of the preemptive things to help them add football. Well, Dixie State is 20 minutes from Southern Utah. What a natural rival to have. Why wouldn't you want to be in the same conference? Maybe Southern Utah moves. Who knows? But I just think that when dominoes like this fall, especially when you're going to have an opening in probably the best football playing non-Power 5 league in the AAC, then who's going to take that spot? Somebody from Conference USA or somebody from the Sun Belt likely. Well, then who's going to take the spot from that team that leaves? Okay, then all of a sudden you're talking about dipping into the WAC if they were to re-add football, or when they re-add football, or the Big Sky Conference.
It is notable, and it is worth paying attention to. And who knows at what point something like that will ultimately affect and impact what is in fact happening in the Big Sky Conference.
Shout out to Tanner Gooch, the former associate commissioner of the Big Sky Conference. He jogged my thoughts on this, and he had some thoughts on this as well, and he had a nice Twitter thread just talking about the way the dominoes could fall. So all the best ideas are stolen. Thanks, Tanner.
All the best ideas are stolen. We stole a bunch of them from Marty Morningwig. Marty Morningwig in town, former University of Montana quarterback and a lifer in the NFL as a coach, both head coach, assistant coach, quarterbacks coach, all of it. He is the subject of our ESPN Roundtable. Conversation with him next.
Right now at Carl Tyler Chevrolet, take advantage of employee pricing and up to $7,500 in rebates on all 2018 Silverados. Get the most out of your summer with a reliable truck that'll take you anywhere during Carl Tyler Chevrolet's June Silverado sell down. Save $11,719 on select 2018 Silverado 1500s. View our full inventory at gmofmontana.com or 3663 North Reserve Street. Carl Tyler Chevrolet. Find new roads.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
You've chosen the caterer, addressed the invitations, and picked out a cake. But have you decided where to bank? Farmers State Bank offers just what you need as you start your new life together. Checking and savings accounts, electronic banking options, the latest tech, even locally approved mortgages. And with 9 Western Montana locations, there's a Farmers State Bank where you live, work, and play. Congratulations from all of us at Farmers State Bank, an equal housing lender and member FDIC.
Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here, and I'm with Josh from the Advocates Injury Attorneys. Josh, if our listeners have been injured in an accident, how can you help?
We're here to help you after a car accident by negotiating with insurance companies, recovering lost wages if you have any, and even getting you into a rental car if you need one. Call us today for a free consultation, and we'll get started helping you right away.
If you need help, get a hold of the Advocates. Call Josh at 640-4444 or online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve an advocate.
You're a big league fan. You expect big league service. At the Desperado, you get exactly that. With 35 flat screens, ice-cold brews on tap, and Missoula's #1 wings, you're free to sit back and enjoy every pitch. This summer, make the Desperado your baseball home away from home. Cool off after work, relax on the weekends, soak in some great food and drinks, and watch your team make yet another great push for October. And hey, if yours can't do it, there's plenty of other teams and fun to go around at the Desperado Sports Tavern on South Russell across from the Y.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez, ESPN Sports Center. The Montana High School Association voted Wednesday to allow spectators at all state golf meets to watch from the course. Throughout the history of state golf in Montana, no spectator has been allowed to observe on the course. The newest changes allowed spectators during both regular and postseason events to watch, provided they adhere to the conduct guidelines and obtain a spectator badge to be worn at all times.
Other changes to the MHSA rules include allowing the Class AA division to hold a divisional volleyball tournament starting in 2020. Also includes the moving of the 2020 Class AA C state track meet from Missoula to Helena because of facility concerns, and a move to allow Class C basketball to have a 4-day state tournament pending an available venue.
Montana State men's basketball senior guard Harold Frey will participate for his home country of Norway in the International University Sports Foundation Summer Universiade. The event serves as the largest multi-sport competition outside of the Olympics and the largest for student athletes. The games begin July 3rd in Naples, Italy.
And finally, Missoula Osprey fell 7-3 to the Billings Mustangs on Wednesday in the final game of their first homestand of the season. The O's mustered just 4 hits and struck out 8 times, while the visitors banged out 14 hits. The 5-7 O's play at Billings Thursday night. First pitch, 6:35 p.m., and can be heard right here, 102.9 ESPN Missoula.
Welcome back to Tell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Hour number 2 coming at you. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. If you've missed anything in the show, you can check it out on the podcast. Podcast available on the TuneIn Radio app and on iTunes and on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. It's there thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotels. And it is time now for our ESPN Roundtable presented by Paradise Falls. But before we get to it, we got something for you. A giveaway. It's Thursday, and so we are giving away here every Thursday for a little while $25 to our friends over at the Board of Missoula, 618 South Higgins downtown, a $25 gift certificate. They got a bunch of stuff over there, skate, snowboard shop, skateboards, clothing, accessories, snowboards, all of that stuff for all ages, both genders, everything going on at Board of Missoula. I saw a bunch of stuff down there that I would like. I'm wondering if I can just give the gift card to myself and go in there and go to work. I don't know if that's really allowed. But 329-1899, 329-1899 right now, $25 to the Board of Missoula for the first caller in. It is time now for our ESPN Roundtable, and this week the ESPN Roundtable, the subject is Marty Morningwig, who came down here. He is a part-time Missoula resident. His wife really is sort of the Missoula resident. Well, he kind of flies around, but he tells the story in there how they kind of ended up in Missoula. Of course, he played quarterback at the University of Montana in the early 80s, but is not from Montana originally and has been everywhere. I mean, my goodness, the life of a coach is just so itinerant, it just boggles the mind. But Marty Morningwig, a lifer in the NFL, as certainly well-respected and as veteran a guy in the league as you're going to find. He was on that famous staff in Green Bay under Mike Holmgren with Andy Reid and Ray Rhodes and John Gruden and so on. Went on himself to be Steve Mariucci. Went on himself to be a head coach for the Detroit Lions in the early 2000s. Has most recently been the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens the last 3 seasons, and is currently sort of feeling it out a little bit. He's had some opportunities. He's also he as he said to us after, he's like, I'm only 57. I'm definitely going to be coaching, but we'll see kind of where it lands for him right now. So, but he's been doing it a long, long time, and we get into all of it. But Coulter, just briefly, great to talk to Marty, and awesome of him to be here to talk about his camp, and the quarterback school and stuff. But couldn't just be a nicer and more affable and more engaging guy.
It's sort of sad in some way because Marty Morningwig is his most visible national thing is being the head coach of the Detroit Lions for 2 largely unsuccessful seasons where I think they won a total of 4 games.
5, I think it was.
5 games, yeah. Sure. And that part is like the only down part of what has been otherwise a tremendous career, because he's got multiple NFC championships and a Super Bowl ring from his time in Green Bay. He had multiple NFC playoff appearances during his time in San Francisco, coached Steve Young and Jeff Garcia there after coaching Brett Favre. Then in Philadelphia, when he was there with Andy Reid, coached a ton of good players, including Donovan McNabb, coached Michael Vick multiple times. And then in Baltimore, Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson. So you're talking about a star-studded list of quarterbacks, amazing. No doubt. Some of the best that ever played the game. And Marty Morningweg has been, the fact that he has been riding shotgun basically with Mike Holmgren and Andy Reid, it gives you a lot of credibility. And he couldn't be more down-to-earth guy despite all that success. Yeah. And I thought that was, a lot of times these guys are gracious with their time and we love talking to them. But like Marty, he came here into the studio and was super excited to talk, and he hung out with us for like a couple hours.
I mean, this is you hear a lot of it here, but he was here a lot longer than just this piece. That is,
he talked to us for 45 minutes before we could ever actually get the interview started.
It was a blast. It was a
great.
blast to have him down here. We certainly appreciate it. So here you go, the ESPN Roundtable presented by Paradise Falls with Marty Morningweg.
Welcome into this week's Paradise Falls ESPN Roundtable. This week's ESPN Roundtable, we're joined by former Grizz quarterback, former longtime NFL coach, maybe a current NFL coach still. We'll see. But Marty Morningweg joining us. And, Coach, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here. You talking about Paradise Falls, Tom McLaughlin, great sponsor of the camp and clinic that I'm sure we'll get to talk about here.
Love the synchronicity of it all. So you have your Marty Morningweg quarterback school and coaches clinic this week here in Missoula. Just tell us more about this camp. This is the third year of it. I'm sure you're excited to be back in the Garden City.
Hey, this is awesome. I'll tell you what, I always get excited about this time for the camp. This is the third year of the camp. It's a non-for-profit, so some great sponsors of that. The kids, it's free for them, and there's usually about 14 to 16 quarterbacks there. And then heck, I'm trying not to do anything right now, so I figure I put a little coaching clinic on the front end of it, and for the high school coaches. And we've got some great speakers this year. Bobby Hauk's going to speak, and the great Joe Glenn, who's also the guest coach of the camp, Mike Van Diest, Jim McElwain, and Skylar Morningweg.
That's pretty good. And we should clarify for people, it's kind of a 2-day deal, 2-prong deal. It's coaches on Thursday evening, afternoon, evening, 4 to 8 over there at the University of Montana, and then the quarterbacks at 10 a.m. on Friday at Big Sky High School at Missoula County Stadium. But this is not necessarily something. Don't just all of a sudden jump in your car and drive down there. It's quarterback specifically, as you said, and it's kids that you and then Dane Oliver, who's the head coach at Sentinel, have kind of selected, say, hey, let's work with these kids. You can come in. They come in for free. They get a ton of stuff, which is unbelievable, and a great day from, obviously an outstanding quarterbacks coach yourself, and then the group that you bring in to work with them.
Yeah, it's a great day. I'll tell you. So the kids come in, and it's a Missoula high school emphasis regarding the quarterbacks. And then I think it was year 2, Dane, as you mentioned, and the rest of the Missoula high school coaches kind of started selecting guys and inviting them from the rest of the state. And then I like to keep it small so I can coach them all. And then Joe Glenn is coming in as a guest coach who coached me here many, many years ago. He's a great quarterback coach. And so he and I, and then my oldest son, who's a quarterback coach in college, and then a few other guys will help as well in coaching the quarterbacks. It's a fundamental school only for quarterbacks, and so we have a blast doing it.
We actually had a pretty lengthy debate yesterday on the show because Carson Rostad, kid from Hamilton, Montana, he committed to the Grizzlies earlier this week, and why they consider the top prospect in the state of Montana. But it seems as if there's been some really good quarterbacks that come out of Montana, but a lot of times maybe they're underrated, underdeveloped. But from your seat, what do you like about working with kids, and what do you think of just the talent level in Montana?
Well, look, I think the talent level in Montana is like you said, way underrated. But here's the situation with the quarterbacks. If a quarterback can take 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 little things and it helps them, then it's 100% worth any thing that the process that we go through. So now I flood them with quite a little bit of information, and then they get a few reps at it, but then they have to take that and go work their rear end off on their own to sort of make it stick.
Marty Morningweg joining us on the ESPN Roundtable. And, Marty, you've been a coach in the NFL level for a lot of years, head coach, assistant coach, offensive coordinator, and so forth. Why in off season, when you get a very little bit of time to maybe have to yourself and so forth, do you say, hey, let me put on a clinic for a day? It's great for the kids, great for the community, and you bring people together, which is fantastic. But, there's some effort into it when you could just be, kicking them up at the lake or doing whatever it is.
Well, I will tell you, when the kids were growing, young, running and gunning, there was very, very little time. I've got just a little bit more time. All my kids are pretty much grown. 3 graduated from college, and the 4th one is kind of right in the middle of it in college. He's playing ball up there in Helena at Carroll College. So we've got a little bit more time, put a little time and effort into it and give back in some small way. And this is, I think, the best way I can give back, just a little bit.
Well, and it's very, very cool because you brought in, obviously the coaches and the players and so forth, but also some folks to come in and help you out from a backing standpoint. Because like you said, you wanted to make this available for free. Hey, if you get the invite, you can come. And so I know Scott Burke at First Security Bank has been, a big supporter of this, as has Eric Sprunk at Nike. And Nike, through Eric, outfitting the guys with all the gear. I mean, even cleats, bags, the whole thing. So it's a pretty sweet deal to get invited to this quarterback school.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right, and Eric has helped do it right. I mean, they outfit the kids head to toe. Bill Keller out there, he played at Stanford, and he's the go-to guy there. And, in fact, we just got it sent. And appreciate all of the sponsors. And there's a bunch more, including Lloyd Twite over there, construction and developer, and a bunch of my teammates, a bunch of more banks.
First Interstate Bank, Bank of Montana, Stockman's Bank as well. Coach, you played here at the University of Montana.
Yeah, long time ago. I told my kid, anybody who remembered me, he's probably over 50.
And then a long arcing career that began in college, but you break in the NFL in the mid-'90s, and you've been in the NFL ever since. What makes Montana special? Why do you like Missoula, and what brings you back here? It seems like you keep coming back. What's the thing that draws you back here?
Well, I've been here more this year than I've ever been able to, but it was my wife, really. We hadn't been to Montana. This was years ago, for probably 15, 18 years, and we came back. And my wife, on the plane ride home, said, "That's where I want to be when you're all said and done." And I'm going, "Really? Why?" And she gave me some great reasons. I said, "You haven't been here in the winter, girl." But she loves the winter. She's not going. So she would usually spend the season with me. But the second we had a 2-game road trip, she was out of there, gone up here, and or go see one of the kids, and then spend most of the off season up here. So it's been great for her. It's been great for the family.
Coaching in the NFL is, on one hand, when you're a fan or on the outside watching, you think, wow, how great, how awesome to be in there on the sidelines working with the guys and being in professional football. And I'm sure that it is great in a lot of ways, but also a tremendous grind. What for you has been maybe the toughest part of a lot of years in the NFL, a lot of different teams that you've been with at basically every level, the coaching ranks? What do maybe people not really understand about what it takes to be a coach at that level?
Well, a couple of things run through my mind there, but first of all, I don't know any different. I think everybody works hard at what they do, and we certainly work hard. Certainly for 7-8 months, we it's 7 days a week, 24 hours. However, I think a lot of people do that now, and then you end up loving it. You end up loving sort of the grind. It's some people probably think it's a little glamorous. It's not, So very little sleep. That's a big thing. You got to get enough sleep because you need to be at your best on Sunday. Game time. You need to be at your best. So, but it is a lot of time, effort, and those type of things. But you end up loving it. It's the only thing I've ever done, really, play and coach, other than swapping Gordy Fix's, janitor at Gordy Fix's, elbow room back in the day, or working at a gas station or my uncle's fence company. But that's about all I've ever done, so I don't know anything different, and we all end up loving it. Now, the wives are important here now. I will tell you.
Absolutely.
Is what happens typically is the wives become pretty independent. And then after the season, you come home and you're having dinner for the first time in 7 months with the family, and you go, well, we're going to do it this way. They go, nope, that's not the way we do it. And you go, what the heck happened here?
Tell us about just this last couple of years. You've been with the Ravens, and this last year was a fascinating year to follow the Ravens with just the Joe Flacco drama, but then the emergence of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's a guy that I always thought was tremendous potential, tremendous athleticism, and a guy I thought was actually maybe underrated coming into the NFL. You guys roll the dice and roll with him down the stretch and end up making the playoffs, and he kind of had people's heads spin in the second half of the year last year. What's it like to coach a guy like that? Because he is truly one of the elite athletes in the world.
Well, I've been fortunate, as you guys know. I started out in the NFL coaching Brett Favre.
Pretty good start.
Steve Young.
We're going to work back to
Jeff Garcia. But Donovan McNabb, I thought was really underrated. Michael Vick, really twice.
Yeah.
But anyways, great respect for Joe Flacco. He's a heck of a quarterback. He's in Denver now. I suspect that he will really help them. And then that was a significant injury that Joe had. So then we go with Lamar and sort of change our whole thought process. And Lamar is so good now at many, many things and underrated as a quarterback. A lot of people did not think he could play quarterback in our league, and we thought differently. Now, the progression that he has to make here in the next few years is very, very important. That's one reason that I'm not there. There's a little disagreement, but Lamar rock and rolled, sort of a change of philosophy there, and we go 6-1 down the stretch to make the playoffs, and much of it was due to the great defense, the line, but certainly Lamar.
When you look back and you early on, it was your first job was in Green Bay, but you were there very, very early and on an unbelievable staff as it sort of would turn out over time with Gruden, Ray Rhodes, and obviously Holmgren, others, and so forth. And you're working with Brett Favre directly as the quarterback. When you, in that moment, I mean, it's impossible to imagine, right, what that tree would end up looking like, both as a Hall of Famer, first balloter, and Brett Favre, and also the coaches that came out of that. When you look back on that, do you go, wow, there I am in that photo, and this is pretty cool?
Yeah, well, you had, of course, Mike Holmgren was the head coach, and,
sure.
and Andy Reid was there.
Right, Andy.
We've worked, I think 4 different places together for probably the most part of 20 years.
Yeah.
We had been together in some capacity or another. Great staff, great players, a great Reggie White was on that team. What a fantastic player. The great Brett Favre. We had tremendous players across the board, came together, went on a run. I remember, if I remember right, we lost 2 back-to-back games, and people wrote us off, and then we didn't lose again. So that sometimes a little adversity sparks a nice run, and then we had beaten San Francisco, the 49ers, 3 times in one calendar year, and they were all very, very close games. And then I go from there to San Francisco as offensive coordinator. Steve Mariucci had just got the head job there, who was on that Green Bay staff as well.
Right.
And then so that rivalry with Green Bay, I believe they beat us in the NFC Championship the next year. We were at home, and then we beat them the next year on the catch.
Yes.
So what a great rivalry there and I was on both sides of it. So
right.
heck of a run. I tell people that my wife thought it was kind of easy because the first year in the NFL, we go to the Pro Bowl, we lose in the NFC Championship. Back then, the loser in the NFC Championship game, AFC Championship game, the staffs and trainers and coaches, everybody would go and coach the Pro Bowl in Hawaii. The next year, we win the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and then go to San Francisco. We lose to Green Bay in the NFC Championship, and then go back to the Pro Bowl. So my wife's first 3 years in the NFL.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So, the kids were little tykes. I knew I had a problem. My oldest daughter, Maddie girl, we go on vacation and spend a night in a hotel, and she's in the bathroom asking where the phone is. She had stayed in too many good hotels.
Too many nice spots, right? Yeah.
I guess you had to be there for that one as well.
No, we've seen the rooms with the phones in them. Now we got them in our pockets, so I suppose it's less necessary. But at that time, you got a phone in your hotel.
Oh, it's big.
You're living life, right?
Well, in the bathroom.
Right. Yeah, in the bathroom. Right.
My gosh, you guys got to cut that out and make this sound a little better. We're getting off on tangents.
Well, Coach, I got to ask you just about the evolution of your coaching career, because leading up to that time in Green Bay, you'd had several different gigs, starting here at the University of Montana, and then going to some smaller schools, UTEP, NAU, Southeast Missouri State, then at Mizzou, then back to NAU. But you coached for Steve Axman there at NAU, and Coach Jeff Lewis, a guy who went on to become an NFL quarterback. But how did that set the stage? And then what was the jump like? How did you get from Northern Arizona to Green Bay like you did?
Well, really, we bounce all over, typically moving up. My wife and I, throughout the years, have counted how many different places we have lived.
Oh my gosh, it's just got to be astronomical.
Yeah, so we talked about the wives there. And one of the deals we had was, be ready to pick up a move at the drop of a hat anywhere in the country, and she said, "All in, just please don't put me in a single wide trailer." I said, "How about a van down by the river?" She said, "I'm good with that." So, but anyways, look, I coached a year of high school. I coached here for a quick year. I was a graduate assistant. I was still trying to play at the time. I was in camp with the Niners as a camp arm. That was awesome, great experience, because I was already sort of coaching, and then I played in the Arena League. I was 3 for 4, by the way, before I blew my knee out. So I tell the fellows, you can never, the guys I'm coaching, you
75%.
Yeah, you can never beat my.
That's never. Yeah, you're never going to beat that.
And 7 surgeries later, I'm up here in Missoula seeing the doctor for the old knee replacement one of these days. So, but so I was trying to play and coach, at the time, and then got some small college jobs and worked my way up. Missouri coordinated at NAU. I was coached by Mike Holmgren in high school. Wow. And you talked about that staff. See, I thought everybody was coached like that.
Right.
And and they weren't. So I was kind of lucky that way. And you talked about that staff that he had in Green Bay. All of the guys, you talk about that loyalty and trust within a staff. All of those guys were either had played for him, coached with him, were GA for him. He was the quarterback coach at BYU for many years, and he was in charge of graduate assistants. So, shoot, there were 2 or 3 guys that had been graduate assistants for Mike. So, great staff. Virtually every one of the staff members had played for him or coached with him somewhere along the line.
It's the ESPN Roundtable. Marty Morningwig, our guest. And, Marty, you played at the University of Montana.
Right.
And people may not remember if you go back like even to the 70s, but Boise State, Nevada, Idaho, all members of the Big Sky Conference. It's been a while since the University of Montana had won a Big Sky Conference, but in 1982, lead the team, and Brian Salonen, among others, on that club as well. What do you remember about that run and about that season and bring a title back to Missoula that hadn't been here in a long time?
Yeah, the Big Sky was a little different. You mentioned it, Idaho, Nevada, Boise was always very, very good. So our freshman year, that class that I came in with, you could see at the end of the year, we were either winning games or playing people tight. If I wouldn't have screwed it up, we would have beat Nevada, in the last ball game.
Yeah.
So we knew we had a little juice there. And then my sophomore year, I think we're 7-1 and rolling, and about 5 of us had some pretty serious injuries and didn't play or played a little nicked up. And we really had an opportunity that year that I believe if we stayed just a little bit more healthy, we would have at least shared the Big Sky that year. And then the junior year, it just seemed like my junior year we won a bunch of games in the last couple of minutes against some really, really good teams. Our defense, I don't know where they were ranked. They weren't ranked all that high, but they were a tough defense, especially when the chips were on the line. And then offensively, we scored there at the end of the game a couple of times and had the ball at the end of the game. You remember the Big Sky? That was just kind of the start of it. Everybody throwing the ball all over the place. And so we had the ball at the end of some of those games. And we won every game that we really needed to win that year.
Your first year in coaching for Larry Donovan, and then everything kind of changed after that. Larry Donovan unceremoniously fired Don Reed, brought in. Washington Grizzly Stadium opens, and kind of the rest is history. Montana just goes on this upward trajectory to become not only a Big Sky Conference power, but a nationally elite program, and goes on one of the greatest runs in the history of the FCS, one of the greatest runs in the history of college football. Do you ever think about what might have been different or what could have been different for you guys had Larry Donovan stayed? Or I guess, what do you think of just the level that Montana rose to kind of right after you left?
Well, Larry Donovan, I think, started.
And you guys started it too with that '82 championship.
Yeah, and then the stadium. A lot of my teammates say, "Hey, who built the stadium?" We built the stadium.
Right.
With Denny Washington and Larry Donovan and the group. I think Mike Holmgren has talked about this publicly. I think he wanted to interview for this job when Don Reed got it. Well, it worked for both of them. Like 2 weeks later, Coach Holmgren's coaching the NFL, coaching the quarterbacks in San Francisco from BYU, and Don Reed did just a spectacular job. And those that have come after have kind of kept that tradition. I know Bobby's trying to change some things here, and he's going to get that thing done as well. Who wouldn't want to play at the University of Montana with Bobby Hauck and his staff? The facilities and the stadium and the fans. I mean, come on. I remember I coached at NAU a couple of times, 2 different times, both very short periods. But coming in here, the fan base is just fantastic. Some of the best fans in the country right here at the University of Montana.
Going back to the NFL, you spent a couple years as the head coach in Detroit.
That was like half a cup of coffee.
Half a cup of coffee. But it seems to me, and I've never coached a day in my life other than 8th grade lacrosse, co-ed, back in the day. So I know nothing. But looking from the outside, it seems to me like being a head coach has got to be as different from being a positional coach or even a coordinator as anything could be. It's not. It seems like not merely a progression, though it is, but there's such a different set of things that you need to do as a head coach, managing the coaches rather than just showing, but teaching the guys the sport, although I'm sure that's part of it as well. But what is the difference between being a head coach compared to anything else that you might do within the coaching ranks?
Well, hard to explain because as you guys know, you'd never really know until you do it,
Right.
So, and you mentioned a couple of things. Also, the GM, the ownership, the media pulls you every day.
We got to get our pound of flesh, Marty.
As an assistant, you're a little bit more protected. As a coordinator, you may have to speak once a week. As an assistant coach, you may have to speak once or twice a year. As a head coach, you're speaking virtually every day. And then all offense, defense, special teams with the coaches, players, and really throughout the whole building. Has to be tied really tight. You all have to be going in one direction. It just can't be fractured. Very, very important that the philosophy and the direction is well communicated up and down there. And it starts at the top with the ownership. There's no question about that.
ESPN Roundtable presented by Paradise Falls. Marty Morningweg, our special guest this week. You mentioned Brett Favre, Steve Young, Jeff Garcia, Michael Vick, Donovan McNabb. This is like the who's who of quarterbacks you've coached in your careers. Probably hard to discern who's the best one, but what are some of your favorite memories of coaching so many guys? And when you see a guy like Brett Favre or Steve Young or Donovan McNabb probably soon become Hall of Famers, that must be so satisfying to even have any sort of influence on their career.
Yeah, well, Steve and Brett, first ballot Hall of Famers, slam dunk. Totally different. Two totally different guys on and off the field.
Right.
Brett Favre, gunslinger, just great instincts, brilliant leader, brilliant quarterback, big time arm, great instincts. Played instinctual football. Hall of Fame first ballot player. Steve Young, more of a surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
Would just cut you apart.
Very smart, right? I mean,
very, very smart, detail-oriented, yes. And he would just surgically take you apart. Brett may throw one, especially when he was younger, 10 rows up in the stands, and then come back on the next play and nail a touchdown, from 45 yards. Where Steve may end up going 11 for 11 and throwing a 6-yard touchdown at the end of the series. So totally different, both on and off the field. Great players. We mentioned Donovan, underrated. Mike Vick had just the crazy great year in Philadelphia. In his second year with us, if you remember, I used him as a wildcat type of guy the first year and developing at the quarterback spot. He hadn't played the game for a couple of years at that point, and had a great year. Joe Flacco had some great games. His problem the last 3 years has been he's been nicked up every year, and hasn't been able to put together a whole season. If he stays healthy, he's going to do really well in Denver. And then Lamar Jackson, I think there is no cap for Lamar.
When you look around the NFL, it's so interesting to me, especially at quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger, Tony Romo, Joe Flacco, certainly, and I think at one point 8 of the 32 starters were small school, even FCS guys that come through, and it's not. It certainly is plenty of Power 5 school quarterbacks that go through and do it, but it just seems so singular. Like if you have it and the ability to do it, you could come from almost anywhere. Why is it that there seems like to be such an influx of guys from smaller programs at the college level that turn out to be really good to great NFL quarterbacks?
Yeah, that's a great point. I've studied that throughout the years. Look at a certain percentage come from high round picks.
Right.
And then everybody else comes from all over the place. Free agents, late round picks, middle round picks, come from other leagues. At the quarterback spot, I coached Jeff Garcia.
Right.
He went to the Pro Bowl in his second year with me, had a good rookie year. However, he had played several years. He'd been the MVP up there in Canada. Experience counts. Pro experience, it counts. It doesn't matter where. There's been players that played in the Arena League that come into the NFL and do very well. In the Europe League, you remember the old Europe League, the USFL, there's been great players, especially for quarterbacks. If you gain experience in the pro game, it really, really goes far. That goes for all players too, but the quarterback position stands out so much. But every position in the NFL, one can do that and come from virtually anywhere. If you've got enough talent and you put the hard work and the preparation in, you've got a chance to stick. Now, there's a lot of talent out on the streets, right, at every position. The quarterbacks, there's a lot of guys that can drop back and throw it. I shouldn't say a lot, but there's more than there in the league. But the real football players are in the NFL. The guys that have instincts, that work hard, that prepare, and certainly they've got to have enough talent. They're in the league, and toughness goes a long, long way.
We should circle back to that again. The reason you're in town, at least right now, and specifically, is for these camps that are coming up. A coaches camp on Thursday evening at the University of Montana for some high school and some college coaches as well, some great speakers at that. And then the quarterback school is Friday morning at Big Sky with about, like you said, 14, 16 guys that you've kind of handpicked to come down to that thing. First Security Bank and Nike, both big time with that. And also the Mo Club, Red's Bar, Paradise Falls, some of the establishments around town that are helping provide food, refreshments, and things of that nature for the couple days is pretty cool, too.
Yeah, Scotty Gratton is involved in it. We in his law firm. Dave Paoli and his law firm, First Interstate Bank, we talked about, Bank of Montana. Ned Becker, an ex-teammate of mine, one of his companies donated some coffee tumblers, so we're gonna
there you go.
Yeah,
wake up in the morning
Ned
a little
Becker.
bit. Yeah,
So we'll do that at the clinic. Missoula Country Club, a little giveaway round of golf for 4. An ex-player, Steve Fahler, has he's got that
his clinic out there. His sports workout.
Yeah, it's outstanding. Stockman Bank donated as well. So and then Josh Klusowicz, an ex-teammate of mine, Brian Salonen has helped. Brad Danek has helped with the camp. So takes a lot of people, man, and so with all those people, it's going to be one of the very best quarterback camps in the world. And the first year of the clinic, I'm thinking it's going to be the best clinic in this whole country. I mean, you look at it. Bobby Hauck, Joe Glenn, Mike Van Diest, and then Sky. Are you kidding me?
And Marty Morningweg.
Well,
also notably.
If one of those guys doesn't show up, here's what. Then I'll get in
then
there.
Then you insert.
See, I'm the backup plan for the clinic. But we're going to have a blast. It's 2 days of a blast. And then usually we have a little get together after the camp with some of the sponsors and ex-teammates and the high school coaches, And so it's a pretty good 2 days there, and hopefully the kids. This is all about the kids, and now the high school coach. If they get just anything, a little something out of it that helps them in the future, then it's well worth it.
Well, Marty, we certainly appreciate your time. You've been very generous with it. Thanks for coming down here and talking to us on the roundtable, and excited about this camp, the 3rd year of it. Hopefully the 3rd of many, many more to come, but I appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you having me, guys. Have a heck of a rest of the day. I hope to see you at the clinic, the camp, and the little get-together after.
Done.
I like it.
Marty Morningweg, the ESPN Roundtable, the clinic, coaches clinic going on now at the University of Montana.
Feeling good in the rain?
Well, they got to be inside, right?
Oh, yeah, pizza and beer.
They're sitting there. They're watching the videos, right?
Film.
And then tomorrow morning at Big Sky, the quarterback clinic, again, just in case you didn't catch that, it's not really open. It's kind of an invite deal. But they do have hats.
They do have hats.
Thank you, Marty, for that.
I'll be interested to see who's going to all be in attendance. I know for a fact Carson Rostad will be in attendance. Mm-hmm. He's the recent Gatorade Player of the Year from Montana out of Hamilton, recently committed to the University of Montana. So we will actually be down there to interview him so we can share that interview with you guys tomorrow on the show as well.
But great interview. And if you missed part of it, or if you want to hear it again, or if you want to share it, SkylineSportsMT.com, the ESPN Roundtable collaboration between ESPN Radio and SkylineSportsMT.com. It'll be there as part of the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series. And the ESPN Roundtable is brought to us by our good friends over at Paradise Falls.
Paradise Falls, 3621 Brook Street, 30 big screen TVs, 18 draft beers, ever-rotating menu with a ton of variety, one of the best late happy hours in town. Despite the rain today, it's a great place to go sit out on the back deck. You can also have $3 draft beers from 9 to 11, Monday through Thursday. Okay. Half-price appetizers, whole bunch of other stuff going on over there at Paradise Falls. And right now, go check out the Widmer Brothers Brewing contest. We got the box out there. You can register to win yourself tickets to the Grizz at Oregon game, September 14th. Presented by Windermere Brothers Brewing, and they got the Windermere Brothers Hefeweizen on tap over there at Paradise Falls as well. So go check them out. Paradise Falls, 3621 Brook Street in Missoula. Missoula's coolest hotspot.
Cali players in college monetizing their images. Could it happen? We'll tell you next.
Alpine Touch has mastered keeping your taste buds happy by spicing up anything you throw on the grill this summer. Now, let Alpine Touch keep your mouth watering whenever you want their new sunflower shooters. Their new jumbo sunflower seeds seasoned with Alpine Touch's world-famous all-purpose seasonings and Alpine Touch sunflower shooters will be available all summer at every Osprey baseball home game. Available at retail locations around the state and online at alpinetouch.com. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, but we also know that you're going to pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it. Well, not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with a staff of specialists that can answer any question. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and, are you ready, lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com. Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at canyonrivergolfclub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
Hey there, Colter Nuanez from Tutel Nuanez 1029 ESPN Missoula here with Tom from Aspen Sound. Tom got me a great deal on an automatic car starter this winter. Now it's summer. What sort of stuff you guys got going on down there, Tom?
Well, Colter, coming into the summertime, we're picking up on the window tinting front. So if you need your windows tinted, give us a call. We'll get you scheduled up. Boats and ATVs are starting to come in full swing, and we're also starting to see the hot rods come out to play. Anything audio related, let us know. We'll get you taken care of.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound.
Come check out the best late happy hour in town at Paradise Falls. Offering $3 microbrews, half-price cocktails and appetizers, and much more, Paradise Falls Late Happy Hour runs from 9 until 11 p.m. Monday through Thursday nights. If you're in the mood for an evening cocktail or you're just getting off the golf course, swing on by 3621 Brook Street. As the days grow longer, come enjoy the sunset on Paradise Falls' spacious back deck while enjoying a beverage. Paradise Falls, located at 3621 Brook Street, open 7 a.m. to midnight. Paradise Falls, Missoula's coolest hotspot.
Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here, and I'm with Josh of the Advocates Injury Attorneys. Josh, what are people left dealing with after an accident?
Well, quite a few things, actually. We see people that are in pain, they still need to get to work, they need to raise their kids, and now they have to take time to go see doctors and other healthcare providers. They're frustrated with working with the insurance companies and getting the runaround. We'll take on the burden of dealing with the insurance companies so you can get the best settlement possible and get back to your life.
Find your advocate online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers. You deserve an advocate.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez, ESPN Sports Center. The Montana High School Association voted on Wednesday to allow spectators at state golf meets to watch from the course. Throughout the history of state golf in Montana, no spectators have been allowed to observe on the course. The newest change allows spectators during both regular and postseason events to watch, provided they adhere to the conduct guidelines and obtain a spectator badge to be worn at all times while on the course.
Other changes included allowing Class AA to hold a divisional volleyball tournament starting in 2020. The MHSA also approved moving the 2020 Class AA and Class C state track meet from Missoula to Helena, and a move to allow Class C basketball to have a 4-day state tournament pending an available venue.
Montana State senior guard Harold Frey will participate in his home country of Norway in the International University Sports Foundation Summer Universiade. The event serves as the largest multi-sport competition outside of the Olympics and is the largest for student athletes. The games begin July 3rd in Naples, Italy.
And finally, Missoula Osprey fell 7-3 to the Billings Mustangs on Wednesday in the final game of their first homestand of the season. The O's mustered just 4 hits and struck out 8 times, while the visitors banged out 14 hits. The Osprey play at Billings on Thursday night. That's tonight. First pitch, 6:35 p.m. can be heard right here, 1029 ESPN Missoula.
Welcome back. California maybe changing the law. That NCAA. It is Tutel Nuanez, 109 ESPN Radio, broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris Studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. And Colter, you told me about this earlier today. I found this very interesting. This is all over the internet. This particular piece is from Forbes. But Tuesday, the State of California Arts, Entertainment, Sports, and Tourism Internet Media Committee passed a bill. It's called the Fair Pay to Play Act that would allow student athletes at California-based schools to receive compensation from outside sources, be it from product endorsements, signing autographs, or selling memorabilia. It's if approved by the Senate in May, the bill will move approved by the Senate in May, and now goes to the Higher Education Committee. And the writer of this article thinks that it will pass that and become California state law. Essentially, what this does is a higher court, the legal court of the state of California, not merely an association, which the NCAA is a governing body, that says, well, no, the kids who are in school here are allowed to earn money off of their NIL, name, image, likeness, which, again, it includes something like selling, signing autographs, selling things that are their personal items, or also appearing in commercials, becoming spokespeople for different things along those lines. The NC2A president, Mark Emmert, obviously and predictably gave an egregious and stupid reply to this. He issued a letter to the California State Assembly and warned them that California schools could face the prospect of being prohibited from participating in NCAA championships if the bill becomes law, a.k.a. we're not even going to let you play, potentially, is a threat, of this. This is so stupid. As a response to this by Mark Emmert, I can barely think through it. Now, there's a whole lot to do on this, and I think we're going to have to spill this into tomorrow because I know we're running out. But how we can debate the law and all of that, but how you think that you're going to say, oh, no, UCLA, you can't be in the NC2A tournament. USC, no, you're not allowed here. By the way, notably, the football playoff, not an NCAA-sanctioned event. It's just the football playoff. It's not an NCAA thing, so that would not be impacted. But somehow in the protection of this holy grail of amateurism, of student athleticism, the ability to maintain that is the thing that Mark Emmert has just dialed into all the way down and based all of his multi-million-dollar empire and the multi-billion-dollar empire that is the NC2A on that very thing. And that is insane to me, how you couldn't sell your own thing that you've done, a football that you have your signature on, a picture of yourself, a jersey of yours, or heaven forbid you go out there and make money selling cars as a spokesperson if you have the sway and the recognition to do it. Enough. Shut up, Mark Emmert.
That was your Burn Street Bistro Burn of the Week.
Now, there are complications with this. I'm not saying this is obvious slam dunk. What I am saying is that you just are so stuck on what you think you need in order to just serve yourself and perpetuate your own thing. It's asinine. It's asinine. And it will never, ever make sense to me. Move on.
I think that the next part you have written here is the interesting part, the two prongs here. First of all, football, men's basketball are generating almost all of the revenue in sports. So how do you have a tier within a school? I mean, if a football player or a men's basketball player at UCLA is signing autographs and getting money because it's legal under California state law, and then subsequently UCLA is banned from NCAA competition, does that trickle into the sports that aren't making money? I mean, does the women's volleyball team, who's likely probably not going to be selling as many autographs, get impacted by that?
Well, again, it's merely a threat, and I think it's an idle threat, because I don't think there's any way that you're going to sit here and go, hey, state of California, you and your 24 NC2A-based collegiate organizations are no longer allowed to participate in the NC2A. Like, that's just, you are biting off the hands that feeds, and that would be the first step of the collapse of the NCAA, period.
Which maybe would be the best thing ever.
Wouldn't it?
The other thing is that most sports lose money. So then where does this fit in? Are you using this to subsidize? I also think this could also make it so unruly because, if this happens in California, then it'll just be dominoes, right? I think that then all of a sudden Florida and Texas will approve this. And then all of a sudden, if you do have some states who allow athletes to get paid and others that don't, but those states are, say it's Texas, California, and Florida. Well, like you said, you can't have any sort of NCAA postseason competition without those three states. So then what happens to all postseason? Obviously, the NCAA won't be able to stand behind its threat. But also, what happens to the recruiting game? Because this isn't going to be just a windfall thing where all of a sudden monetizing your image is legal across the board, unless the NCAA makes it that way. But if there ever is a delineation between this being legal in California and Florida and illegal other places, think about the heists that are going to happen in recruiting.
Oh, Cal, Stanford, UCLA, and USC will be the final four teams in the college football playoff, period.
Because everybody will just go to those schools. Yes.
Everybody.
Right.
But and that's why this is the sort of thing that sets the tone for the rest of the country. And by the way, this has nothing to do with the schools. There's nothing to do with the schools. Now, if you think there needs to be an agency or a governing body that is a between something like a car dealer and a kid who's 18, 19 years old, and there needs to be some buffer there so this kid's not being taken advantage. I get all that, and I'm for all that, But the money's going in the pocket of the individual because the individual is the one who is doing the work or has generated enough of a following to justify that.
Right.
And nothing, okay, yeah, it's because you play at USC. Good for you. And I can completely understand if the schools say, hey, you can go do whatever you want. You can't wear a USC hat. We're not the ones who are doing this. You are. So that I'm with completely, and how those rules get set up is a long and open conversation. But if I'm not allowed to sell my own shirt, that seems dumb. That just seems completely dumb. Up against it.
Carl Tyler's Missoula Volkswagen wants to help you celebrate Independence Day with a new SUV. The Volkswagen 2019 Atlas has all your road trip needs covered and includes a 6-year, 72,000-mile, whichever occurs first, transferable bumper-to-bumper limited warranty, along with Carl Tyler's Forever Powertrain warranty. You can focus on your vacation with worry-free ownership. Carl Tyler's Missoula Volkswagen.
Remainder of warranty coverage transfers to subsequent vehicle owner. See dealer for warranty booklet, exclusions and limitations.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River. Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here with Josh from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident and need help dealing with the insurance company, you should give The Advocates a call.
It doesn't cost anything at all to call, and I'd be happy to talk with you about your situation. You don't want to have to be dealing with contacting the insurance companies and setting up your claim. We can do that for you from start to finish. We'll take the hassle out of the process so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give Josh a call, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers, but you deserve an advocate.
Florence Coffee Co. knows you love the warm weather. With summer days here and the kiddos out of school, don't forget we serve all-natural Italian sodas. Offered in flavors like huckleberry, cherry, or raspberry, Florence Coffee's all-natural Italian sodas are the perfect summer treat. Stop by for a refreshing iced drink at any of our FloCo locations throughout western Montana and visit FlorenceCoffeeCo.com.
The best flavor under the big sky, Florence Coffee Company.
Jayco and Rangish Brothers are teaming up once again. We take pride in being Western Montana's #1 Jayco dealer and strive to continually offer you the best quality, pricing, and reliability. To celebrate the arrival of summer, we are offering June hot buys. From RVs to parts and service, we got you covered. Save big on Jayco J-Flight SLX, 264 bunkhouse travel trailer, Sleep 7 starting at only $14,995 with payments as low as $149 per month OAC. Don't miss our June hot buys going on now. Only where a handshake means something. Rangish Brothers RV Center.
Still emerging from your winter hibernation and need to get your bearings straight? Cruise on down to Port of Missoula for all your spring and summer needs. Come check out their men's and women's streetwear, sunglasses, and shoes from brands like Vans, Adidas, Thrasher, Volcom, and the original Port of Missoula brand. They also have all your skating needs covered, from tune-ups to fresh-made custom boards. Port of Missoula, Missoula's original board shop since 1989, on the Hip Strip, 618 South Higgins.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Hey, if you're in Missoula, fear not. The internet's telling me that this rain's just about done. And here I am, finishing up the workday. What a deal. It's Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. If you miss anything in the show, check it out on the podcast. It's available wherever you get your podcasts.
Find Tutel and Nuanez on the World Wide Web at 1029ESPN.com, Facebook/ESPN Missoula. And for the best Big Sky coverage in the state of Montana, go to SkylineSportsMT.com. Now from the Kurtz Polaris studio, here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
Thank you, Cutler. Very, very helpful. Very helpful. The podcast is available anywhere you want to get it, including 1029ESPN.com. It's there thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. I got to tell you, RecCon. Been telling you about this. It's cool. July 19th and 20th. It's coming up at the Fort Missoula. It's an outdoor recreation and conservation weekend. And dozens of exhibitors with gear from manufacturers and even outdoor nonprofits are going to be there. Learning labs throughout the day for people to check out from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. both days. Get online, recconmontana.com, RECCON Montana.com. There's even some limited camp spots available, so if you want to go check that out, you can. Beer from Big Sky Brewing. Plenty of food trucks. Going to be fun for the whole family, something for everybody. RecCon. July 19th and 20th at Fort Missoula. Golter, I guess even though the rain's moving on, it's good that the Osprey are out of town. They head over to Billings for 3 tonight. Kurt Wilson going to be on the call. He's going to do a great job, and more Osprey news coming up tomorrow. But these games in Billings, half an hour earlier down there in Billings. So 6:35 opening pitch. 15 minutes from now, we'll be on the air live on ESPN Radio for you with the pregame show. Enjoy the Osprey baseball this evening. We'll be back with you tomorrow.
We ate a lot of steaks before we came up with the Montana Club's Private Reserve Cut Angus. It's as good a steak as you're going to get. Our Private Reserve Cut Angus is specially cut for us. And with our custom seasoning, it has a flavor that's absolutely incomparable. We're confident that it will satisfy the most discriminating steak customer for an unrivaled steak experience. Real Montana, real food. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Les Schwab is proud to introduce two of our best tires ever just in time for summer. There's our exclusive open range AT that we believe is our quietest, smoothest, and best all-season traction tire ever. Or the Reputation, our exclusive high-mileage premium passenger tire. Get $50 off alignment when you purchase a set of 4 open range AT or Reputation tires. Book an appointment today at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires. Doing the right thing matters. Cannot be combined with other offers. Limited time only. See details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, ooh, pump it up. Pump it up.
Town Pump always has your favorite snacks and drinks. Check out their new item, Big Sky Spiked Seltzers, variety 12-pack cans for only $14.99. Need a snack? Old Trapper 3 1/4 ounce jerky is just $3.99. Town Pump is there for you, right down the road.
Town Pump, right down the road. Pump it up.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure.